That's what I was going to say too.
All right, we are live. We are. It's loading up right now. We are streaming live on yet another episode of GallantFew Leader Chat. So,
hey everyone.
Hey everybody! It is Army versus Marines today, and it's even set up. I don't know everybody else's.
Mine's diagonal.
Screens. Yeah.
Not even fair to y'all.
Not even fair.
There.
Okay, so who wants to start it off? We really don't have an agenda for these things.
We got to introduce Josh.
Yeah, no, that's a good spot. That's a good way. There we go. Josh, tell us about yourself.
My name is Josh Honsberger. I'm a father to 3 young daughters and a husband. Previous life was in the Marine Corps for about 13 years. Retired from Marine Special Operations, MARSOC, as an operator. And just been living the high life ever since then. Been involved with Raider Project and GallantFew since pretty much since the inception, back in 2014. With Nick and linked up with Karl, obviously, and then got the ball rolling. And,
doesn't seem like that long, does it?
No. At times it seems like it's been a decade or so, and then other times it seems like it's been like just a couple months because time ebbs and flows and how it feels. But I've been involved in different capacities throughout the inception of Raider Project, and then getting linked up with GallantFew. Assisted with some of the trips that we used to take to different locations, whether it be some rock climbing stuff or week trips out to different retreats, personal interactions with guys, personal communications, helping individuals just talk through or deal with any sort of personal issues or things that they might have, and then on the back channel, just trying to further develop and design, the way forward, the current way forward for where the mission set is with Raider Project and GallantFew whole as a team.
Why do you think it's important? I mean, why? I guess the one thing. Why do you do it?
Because I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like for me, I had a personal draw to help people or to assist people. Particularly
pleasure out of it. That's great. I mean, I love hearing people get pleasure out of helping others. It's okay for us to say that we actually enjoy helping others. Like, I feel like there is a mist over that we're allowed to say that.
No, and it seems like this, you're right. It seems like this mystical, that there's some crazy answer to it, but in reality, it's just it's a personal draw and a pull that I feel, that I've always felt in different capacities. And this so happens to be, my outlet and my capacity to be able to assist, guide, mentor, whatever it may be, others that may need it.
Was there ever a time that you weren't serving that you weren't doing this, that you can think of, like that you stepped out of this, part of yourself, down, depressed? I don't want to use the term depressed, but, thinking about the time after you left the Marines, was there ever a time when like this didn't happen?
To be honest, I'd say yes. So through Nick, and then Nick through Karl, I always had the pull to want to do it, the desire to do it, but there were certain times that maybe my ability to be able to do it to its proper capacity was not there. So what I had to do is do like a self-Azmuth check, and say, okay, even though I want to do this, how am I personally as a human being standing up to where I want to be? And then if something wasn't to where it needed to be and I needed to reel back and kind of center my own self, I would do it. Now, it wouldn't be for like a long period of time. It might be a couple days, it might be a week or something like that, but I just kind of needed to re-vector myself back in. So that way, if I was as whole as I thought I could be, then I could almost re-gear myself, rejuvenate, and then be able to put my best foot, my best self forward to assist others. So, the pull is always there.
I
Once
think
in a
there's
while, we just kind of draw back and make sure that ourselves we're aligned, well enough, and then push on and drive forward.
there's a couple of things that's super important about your background. And I don't know how much you want to talk about, but you had a catastrophic parachute jump that terminated your military service. And that really is when you got closely connected with Nick, because he stepped in and helped you as you went through the recovery process. And a lot of the things that we talk about veterans, we talk with veterans about when they've had an injury or something that removes them from that, what they love to do, then a lot of them look at it as a personal failure. And it takes them to a place where they consider themselves a failure, or they get into depression. And so there's this period of time where it goes down. And then you combine that with some things like when you've had traumatic brain injuries and other things, it can affect chemically your body, right? So testosterone is a big issue, and learning that even though you're this big macho guy I could never grow a beard like that, even when I was your age, it just never would happen. But you got people look at you and go, man, that guy's got testosterone out his ears. And then the reality was that you had to have that checked, right? Because some of the injuries kind of did that. And I'm going over this quick because then I want to throw it back and let you talk about it. But then now you've got this huge family. You got 25 kids, and
I'll keep it for now.
And you've moved from you were in Hawaii, now you're in California, is that right? Or are you back in Hawaii again?
I'm in California, so I went from the time that I got out, I went from North Carolina, East Coast, to California, and then from California to Hawaii, and then I went to the other side of the island in Hawaii, and then I'm now back in California. And that all happened, all those big moves happened with other life events, obviously, interwoven in there, within a time span of, let's see, I think less than 5 years.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so we're tickled that you're here, that you're part of the team, and every time that you're able to contribute with us, it's meaningful, and so we value that. I'm glad that you're on the call today.
Yeah, always an open book, Karl. That might take a little bit of time to squeak it out of me, but I'm always an open book, for anything. So
we've had I talked way too much yesterday, so I'll say one more thing and then I'll just shut up and let you guys do it. But I keep getting feedback from people that have seen this, that it is incredibly valuable to them. For us, it's a group of 4 guys. Yesterday we had a couple guys, and a girl that were on the call, and just that conversation about what's going on in your life. How are you getting through the situation that we're in now, whether you're single or you got kids or you have to go to work or whatever that is. And then talking about some things that you find humorous. Maybe it was in the past, maybe it's in the present, but there are folks out there. Think about a veteran that maybe moved to Chicago to go to school, and they're by themselves, and now they can't leave their apartment or their dorm. And this is all they have for outreach to the outside community. So this is an extremely valuable way for us to let everybody else out there know that they're not totally alone. And given that, and I'll.
You both, Zach, both of you guys have been to Rewa together. Have you? I want to talk about that experience for you guys, because
I think that's where I met Josh for the first time.
Yeah, it seemed that Rewa was kind of a big deal for the couple of times you guys got to go there. Yeah. And I want to hear, Zach, I want to hear your perspective of Rewa, and Josh, I'd like to hear yours of that, just kind of that experience.
I'm kind of like Karl. I tend to talk a lot, so I'll try to keep it.
Talk as much as you want, man. I've been talking for 3 days straight. I talk all the time too. Squeeze it out of you.
I don't even know how to start. So basically, I want to say in 2016, I was going through a really, really bad breakup. And I think I found it as an excuse for allowing myself to get depressed and let anxiety attack me. And then I remember, that was 2016. Yeah. So 2014, I got linked up with Raider Project. And then 2016, Allie Nick's wife reached out to me, and she's like, "Hey, Nick wants to know if you want to go on this retreat to Colorado with us." I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I'm thinking, I always have a huge respect for the soft community. So I'm thinking, this guy's a raider, and he asked me to go. Like, hell yeah! And so, yeah, little did I know. I'm just kidding. No, and then everything went smoothly. Went to the retreat up there in Colorado, and it was probably, honestly, that was the big changing, like the pivotal moment for me.
Was that the first time you'd ever been to like a retreat like that?
Yeah.
So what was your mindset like going there? Other than like the man crush you obviously had on Nick K and things like that, but what were you thinking? Because I haven't had the experience of going to a retreat where I'm the participant. Most of the time I've gone as a volunteer. So I'm seeing it in a very different perspective. So having somebody that went to it primarily as a participant last time, it's important to kind of hear the perspective of that, of like, how did you feel like as you were ramping up to go there?
So
you remember
when you rate a project, right? It was named after MARSOC, and to help MARSOC Marines at first start the transition out of the military. So when I was going onto this retreat, onto the plane, it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, like shit, like I'm gonna be the black sheep. I'm just a regular infantry guy. All these other people are gonna be raiders, recon, scout snipers, or whatever, a tier above me. And I just felt like I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut and kind of just stick to myself. And that wasn't the case at all. I got there and I found out there's a lot of other Marines there that were in similar category as me, as you can, whatever way you want to call it. And I think I blended and molded right in with the group. And from then it allowed me to soak up and get as much out of the retreat as possible. Between the yoga, the meditation, hanging out with them while eating chow, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or horseback riding or hiking, whatever we were doing, it was like, it didn't feel weird. I mean, yeah, I didn't know the Marines out there, but it wasn't like, hey, you're just an 03, go over there by yourself. You're just a regular, or the Army, you'll call it an 11 Bravo.
Don't have enough tactical tan camo on. Go over there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, you're wearing green silkies. Your crew's over there. It wasn't like that. And it was this really welcoming, really warming environment. And then, of course, there's a typical banter, but it was just a brotherly love, kind of shit talking, and I loved it. And then from then, kind of fueled me going forward with my GallantFew career, I guess you could say.
Awesome. So Josh, was Rewa kind of the first time you had ever gone to a particular type of retreat like that too? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So what was similar to him? What were you thinking when you were going? Did you already know about it? Like, I know you and Nick had a background. Y'all worked together, so I'm sure there was a connection there. But just kind of like, what were you thinking going to Rewa first?
Trying to put myself back at the first one, because so for the first one, it was a little bit of a dual hat. Is me and Nick planned and theorized and just really researched what it was that we wanted people to be able to take away from it. What did that mean? How do you do this? And it was we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but we wanted to bring something that was unique as humanly possible, to our community, guys from our background. And saying our community and our guys from our background is just meaning anybody who we were, inviting and bringing onto that property, as far as like, who was part of the Raider Project GallantFew program that was coming in, ensuring that, Zach, there was no divide whatsoever between someone who might have had a background in a certain MOS or, additional, specialties within your MOS or your community, recon, raider, infantry, whether you're a fucking truck fueling guy, man, it didn't matter. Like, we wanted to try and break that mold and that barrier, break the divide, and integrate everybody as much as possible. I think we did it pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the planning side was, it was kind of like mission prep. You plan everything really well, and then right before the mission, you're tensing up, hoping that everything goes all right. And then as soon as we had our first little meeting, of everyone coming together, it's like it all just fades away, and everyone meshed together. For me, a lot of takeaways that I had was, it was probably one of the most incredible things I've ever done and had in my entire life, to be honest. And I'll try and say from my perspective, not from other people's, but incredibly life-changing. It was a time, where, there's no cell service out there, which is beautiful. There's no internet really connection, so you can't jump on your computer and do any work, and it's not designed for that. It's designed almost like a fully immersed environment with the people that you're with and around. We tried to keep it fairly unstructured, structured enough. That way there was events and activities that were being held that were going on. But if someone wasn't fully able, capable, wanting, or willing to do something, we weren't there to force people. And to be honest, we found out that was almost the beauty of the whole thing, because then it made the guys and us feel like you had a little bit of control over your environment and what you were going to do. So if you wanted to go take a walk, you can go take a walk. If you wanted to go ride a horse, there was activities for horses. If you wanted to go fly fishing, there was yoga.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds like you took full advantage of the surroundings, the surrounding sports and sceneries. And I think that's a part of the distractionary aspect of these particular things. And I'm glad that we have now been able to kind of take those takeaways from Rewa and from other experiences that we've all been a part of, and somewhat replicate in Joshua Tree. I think how many times have you gone to J Tree with Nick now? I think it's twice. Yeah.
That was just, for me, it was just the first one. The
first one?
Last year, it was the first one.
Yeah, and think about the lessons and the things you experienced at Rewa that then transformed and transferred into the Joshua Tree trip. And, other than natural disasters kind of always getting in the way of our trips, I'm excited to, see that particular area flourish for us in regards to somewhere where we take people and do the same thing you did there, create that somewhat structured experience for them.
Yeah, and there's things that are activity based. Obviously, there's a desired or a projected outcome of certain things that we have. There's certain days that we would have, subverse coaching, or we'd have EMDR, therapist out there, or we'd have someone conducting yoga, out there. So there was activities that were structured, but a lot of it came down to the personal and human interaction that everyone had between each other. That you could find people from all over the different places, and find a commonality and be able to talk through your own self, and then the things that you were starting to learn while you were there, and then starting to apply them a little bit while you were there. And then the biggest thing was you were receiving some tangible takeaways that, you could learn on how to develop to move yourself forward in a better direction. And that was really the biggest thing of what we wanted it, to be, is that you didn't just go to a place, have a crap ton of fun and not really learn anything to better yourself when you left that environment to go home to, your family, yourself, work, school, whatever it may be, whatever.
That's play on life.
Yeah, you had tools that you could kind of reflect back on how to continuously, better analyze and project a better way forward for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've started to have, minimal success in introducing the functional emotional fitness coaching. I think that was our little test of it throughout the different one we had in.
We're way better now than we were then at incorporating it, because then there's a picture that I have on my public Facebook page where I'm sitting there with my tablet, and I think Josh might be there, and there's a bunch of veterans that are all sitting around the room. And so we printed out a bunch of workbooks and we went through it, and that's a good way to do it, but it's not as powerful when you do it in that kind of an environment as when you're able to get more one-on-one or maybe one-on-two. And so we've learned a lot about how to work our way through. And if I were to do that again, I would do it completely different. And we did it different when we went out to Pilot Mountain, because we just kind of focused on one track of it and had our little notebooks that we could write some stuff in. But I'm glad that we're able to do that kind of thing, because that's the only way you can learn and then start flexing into what works.
That's it.
I still have my first journal from that, Karl.
Do you?
Yeah. Because I look back on it as far as like, where was I at that period of time, and then where did I perceive that I was at that period of time, and I use it as like a little bit of like a self-reflection, and then to see if what I thought I was going to be doing or wanting to be doing, am I along that path, or have things changed? So yeah, I still have it.
Man, it's crazy when you actually like do the steps and like go reflect on them, how it works, and like makes you feel like you're on track or something. Gosh, I mean,
Mind-blowing, yeah.
Mind blowing indeed.
I was yesterday, I did a follow-up session with a veteran that I took through the coaching a week ago. And it was one of those things where you get somebody that hasn't done the homework, and then the problems are identical this week that they were last week. And when I say, well, so have you done your questions every morning, every night? No. And I said, what question am I going to ask you next? Zach knows what question I'm going to ask, right? Put you on the spot.
Say it again. You kind of broke up.
So if I asked him if he was doing the homework that I'd assign him, the questions in the morning and at night, and he said he had not. So what's the next question that I would ask?
So what do you need to do those?
Nope.
How's that working for you?
Yeah.
How's that working for you? I asked Zach that. He hasn't been to the home office in a week, so he's starting to slip. I'm gonna have to put you on a retraining.
I'm like a wild cat, an outside cat.
So I said, how's that working for you? And he's like, it's not. So then we go back and unpack why. And his vision, what Josh was just talking about. Where do you expect yourself to be in 5 years or 10 years? When he had gone in and written that self-image, he did it based on what he thought I wanted him to write. And so as I realized that, and I went, no, let's forget about everything else. Just tell me what's your perfect life look like right now. And he was able to create that. So then we went back into the absolute musts, and he was like, oh, okay, nice. Now I get it, because he didn't have that firm vision. And we talk about Josh, where'd you go to jump school? Did you do Marine Corps or Army or?
I did the NPC down in San Diego.
Is that like a big deal where they make you do tons of push-ups and harass you and stuff until the end when you graduate?
5 days, short course.
5 days, just get your jumps and get the hell out. Yeah. So in the Army, hey, back in my day when we ran in boots, airborne school was a lot of harassment, and lots of push-ups and those kinds of things. I think they've lightened up since then, but there are a ton of Army officers that have 5 jumps and will never, ever again jump out of an airplane, right? 20, 30-year career, and they only get 5 jumps. The only reason that they went to jump school was so they could picture themselves with that little shiny airborne badge on their uniform. So if you take that badge away, then there's no reason to go to jump school. So when you translate that into the vision thing, when you're thinking about where do you want to be in 5 years, that's your jump school graduation, that's your badge, right? And then the stuff you have to go through now to get there, if that jump school, paratrooper, whatever ceremony in your mind, I don't know if I'm explaining this the right way, but if that's super strong, it helps you get through the crap that you have to do now to get there. If you got no graduation, no vision on the other end, why go through the crap now? Because you really don't know where you're going.
I think if I can tag off there real quick, Karl. I think that a big reason that a lot of people don't maybe know, though, is that there's not a lot of like self-honesty, right? Like you brought it up when the guy was telling you what he thought you wanted to hear. You know what I mean? Like he was developing it based off of what he thought that you wanted to hear. Like it's hard, and I know this from my personal experience, so I can say it, is that like when you do those exercises and when you're asked those questions, it's hard to state an answer sometimes that is coming or driving from yourself of where you want to be, because it takes honesty. It takes a really, inward approach and an honest look at yourself of, what are you really doing? Where are you really at? Where do you really want to go? And those steps are hard. And I think a lot of guys either kind of bypass or skim over them, or I don't want to say lie, but they misconstrued the process of it, because that step of self-awareness and self-honesty is a hard one. But again, for me, once you break through that and you become to be, honest with yourself, and you don't worry about, someone else's, reflections or opinions from a negative capacity, you're like, oh, all right, this isn't so bad, because now I have a legitimate, step or a platform foundation of where I can build from, how I can move forward. So I think that's really big for a lot of people, is that step right there.
Being honest with yourself. It's huge.
Yeah, I kind of, Karl, what you just said on the whole honest with yourself, and obviously kind of piggybacking on what Josh said. Last night, before we started the call, I was talking about, I did a TRX workout, a TRX that I got from the Raider Project Rewa retreat. That's a mouthful for me to say. But anyway, I got that, I guess Nick, Josh, and I don't know whoever else, but every participant there got a TRX tactical suspension system. And
force, if you will, please.
Maybe mine's old school. Mine just says TRX tactical. But kind of what Karl was saying about the whole honesty with yourself. And I was doing the workout, and then I want to say I was towards probably 80% of the way done. And then I was like, I'm just going to kind of BS this part. And it was only a 30-second rotation. I was like, God, that's not the way to do it. You're just, you're not helping yourself in that scenario at all. And so I ended up restarting that whole section and doing it all over again.
You didn't
suck physically. It sucked physically, but at the same time, I knew that I was being true to myself. I knew that I did the right thing. I had that integrity to kind of go back and do it again. I know I should have done it the first time, but I'm human, I'm flawed. But it kind of just reminded me of what Karl mentioned.
Good adaptation there. Yes. Being somebody that's 7 feet tall and always needing to work out. Josh, what are you doing? You have a home gym, right? I always saw you've got pictures and stuff, but even then with your home gym, it's really hard to stay motivated in times like these. What's the motivation for you?
Yeah, so I've always had a home gym just because I like being, in my own little place. At times it can be hard, and that's where I have to drive myself back into why am I doing it in the first place? Maybe attack it from a different line of questioning is okay, if I don't want to do it today, I skip it. And then I skip it tomorrow. Where is that going to put me? What are the down effects or the downside effects that's going to happen, to me? And for me, injuries that I have, and surgeries, rehab that I've gone through, if I don't move my body, I feel it. I just got done, I was up in Buffalo dealing with some family stuff before all this virus, and everything broke out, or during it maybe. And I wasn't really working out as much up there. I was doing some push-ups and things, but I was really just glued into the family. And then I took a road trip, 3 days cross country, 2,700 miles with the 5 of us. Not doing anything physical, but knowing I should be. And then by the time I got home, it was all those days that I kind of slacked off, I'm now paying for it, because my back starts to tighten up, my joints start to feel kind of crappy. And so the way I push through it is I know what I'm going to feel like if I don't. So 7 days a week, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I have structured programming that I do 5 to 6 days a week, but the days that are not a structured program, man, I'm active in the yard. I have kids, I have the yard, I do this, I do that, because I know if I stop moving, it's going to hurt.
Hey, Josh, you do, you lead a subscription-based workout program, right? That for Raider Project, are you still doing that?
Yep.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about that, but also you talked about having your structured plan.
Yep.
Some veterans get out, they're out for a couple of years. Their back starts hurting because now they're carrying, some extra pounds on the front. Yeah. And then the first thing they do is they go back to what they learned when they're in the military, and then they get hurt because they can't do that stuff anymore like they used to, right? So then it gets discouraging, and then they wait longer before they work out. They put on more pounds. And then after a couple of years or 5 years, they don't even know how to get back into it again. Where would you tell somebody like that to get started? What's the right steps to go through?
I would start with a few key components, right? So before you even get into the training aspect of it, or working out, or whatever you want to call it, gym sessions, is, are you sleeping right? Right? Like, aim for somewhere around like 8 hours of sleep is optimal. 4 is not, 6, maybe not so bad, but try and shoot for 8 hours of sleep. What are you consuming as far as like water or liquid intake? Make sure 90% of that is water-based. So sleep right, drink a bunch of water, and then start to monitor, your food consumption. And if you don't know where to start, and if things are too complicated and you don't want to pay for whatever, like, go off of, the old school method of, shopping on the outside of the grocery store. Just start eating fruits and vegetables, meats if you're, a meat eater, meat, veggies, white rice, potatoes, and a little bit of fruit. And start to take ownership and control of your eating environment, for as much of it as you can. And then as far as movement goes and training and things like that, if you're a completely sedentary person, like, the last thing you should do is just jump into a program because you were a Marine, or you were, a Ranger, or whatever your background used to be. One, you're not that anymore, and that's okay. And 2, your body's not capable of withstanding what you used to do. So know that. So start by just walking, maybe 20 minutes a day. It requires no membership. It requires no equipment. Walk 2 times a day for 20 minutes, and do, I tell guys, just do, 10 by 10 on push-ups every day, and 10 by 10 on bodyweight squats. If you're to a point where, like, you're a pretty big human being, or your body's not moving very well, start there. And if you can't squat, without a chair, then sit up and down out of a chair.
It's funny, you're going through so much common sense, and I can see your gears turning of like who we're talking about here. And like, let's face it, if you serve in the military, you know how to work out. And it goes back to what you said about personal honesty of like, and owning it. You said you needed it. You didn't use owning it as the term, but like your diet, like, you need to own this stuff. You need to own the shape that you're in this moment. And like, you're using your mental tools to describe and to picture yourself not doing this, and like these pains that I'm feeling. And like, these same people that are having trouble getting on this routine, if you ask them to find some obscure article that proves their point about whatever side of the spectrum they are on politically, they're going to find it. So they can find a 10 push up by 5 set perfect. If they can't squat or whatever, they can find this information. It's that personal accountability for yourself to figure out wherever you are. And if you're like, hey, I'm in a lot of pain right now, like, that's a part of personal honesty that people don't come to grips with, of like, that's an okay place to be, and warranted too. Let's work from there and go out.
Yeah, if that's where you're at, like, it sucks. It's not where you want to be, and maybe, it's not where you're going to be, but that's where you are, and that's your new starting point. That's your new foundation. And from there, you got to build a good foundation. So if they want to, pay for like nutrition consulting and like training consulting, like, I can do that. Nick can do that. We've been building, programs and platforms for guys to be able to do that. But the biggest thing is they just need to start moving, start eating right, start intaking more water, and start getting more sleep.
And stay committed to it.
And then, find an activity outside, even if you're in, the Northeast or the Northwest or somewhere where it's cold, like, you can still walk outside. You can still walk your neighborhood, like, just start to get your body moving. And then once you begin that process, after a couple weeks, your energy levels are going to start to go up a little bit by little bit. And then, you know, you can maybe get into, you know, some sort of training program or something a little bit more advanced. But
Yeah.
don't,
Baby
yeah.
Remember some of the stuff you used to do when you were a kid? I don't know about you, but I got one of those net, like 4x4 foot things that you throw a baseball in that bounces back to you. And, you know, for hours I would just in my backyard, just throw the ball and then doing things that make you move. When you're a kid, you're natural. You get on your bike, you go run, explore, whatever. And then you grow up and that's like, well, that's kid stuff. I'm not going to do it anymore. But stuff like that can make a workout fun.
Yeah. I mean, I got 3 little kids. So I was going to say I don't have a choice. I do have a choice whether or not I play with them. But, you know, I tend to make the right choice, being, you know, I go outside and I play with them. And, you know, they bring home games that I never played when I was a kid. But I still beat them.
Got to keep the order right. I mean, the order is important.
But, you know, like we'll go out there and we'll play like wall ball, or we'll play kickball, or, you know, we'll just.
Wall ball. Damn.
Yeah. I never played that game. I don't know. Maybe it's a West Coast thing or something. But
No, I love that game. I used to play all the time growing up.
Well, they had different names for it. Like,
But-
you just basically threw a ball at the wall, and if you dropped it, you had to run to the wall, and somebody could peg you with the ball. Like,
But yeah, that was a kicker getting hit with the ball.
yeah, I mean, we played with baseball, so it was cool. Like, what'd you guys play with? Tennis balls?
We use golf balls.
We play baseballs too, or softballs, depending on what.
Lacrosse balls. That's what we played with.
I just find something enjoyable, man. Do that.
That's it. And as so we've got Dakota Moore on. She's kind of a panelist or an attendee today, and she says, "Don't be an excuse caboose. Be the engine." I'm gonna steal that, Dakota. You're gonna see that more for sure.
Awesome.
Zach, it sounded like you had something to add there. We're talking about fitness. It's all right. But going back to, I just want Josh, I like to ask all of the people that are parents, you know, what is the current state for you right now in this whole like lockdown or whatever, and how are you coping? How are you handling having all your kids at home, having your wife like being there? Like, how's that going?
So I don't like the word coping.
Yeah, I know. I tried to revert that. Yeah, like we need to cut that. Not coping. How are we managing?
How are you doing?
But if I could start there, right? Because me and my wife, you know, talked about it yesterday and the past couple of days, and this morning actually, you know, and it's interesting to me. I will say the perspective that some people are taking on it, where they're completely freaking out that they have to be at home with their children and daycare's closed and school's closed, and like they're in this sheer state of panic that they have to be around their own children and take care of them, you know, 24/7. And I get it. It might not be the norm for some people, but like, to me, I find it to be a beauty, to be honest. So how are we coping with it? We love it, man. I mean, we're home kind of all the time anyways. We work remotely. But we let them, I don't want to say skate for a little bit, you know, but we gave them some free time because they're kids, and you know, this whole thing is new. And we started a couple days ago, just doing the scheduling of the programming that's online for their school.
Yeah.
So they start with that. Like this morning, they started with that. We had breakfast. I got my workout in. They hung out for a little bit, you know, and had some free time. And then they started their schoolwork on the computer. And then we go outside because it's been nice out the last couple of days. And they ride bikes, or they find something physical to do outside. And then they come back in. They might do a little bit of reading. They, you know, play some games. They have fun. They play with their dolls or whatever, you know. But kind of let them be kids and free roam for a little bit, and then, you know, induce structure and some education, you know, so they don't fall too far behind in school. And what's actually really cool is they go to Taekwondo. And just like we're doing right now, is their Taekwondo studio innovated. And
Nice.
the instructor does through Zoom. They're on there, and they did an hour last night of their Taekwondo. So just like this, you know, they could see all their other students that were in, and then their instructors were on the TV. And then at the end of it, for like 30 minutes, was a family session. So we all joined in, you know, and it was like running in place, doing push-ups, and, you know, doing like kicks over a chair and things like that. So they are still doing physical interaction, and then the Taekwondo studio, you know, induced like the family, you know, part of it, and so it's been good, man.
That's cool.
Nobody
Like
kicked
that's,
a computer monitor or anything?
Say again?
Nobody kicked a computer screen?
Thankfully not. I don't, probably have a little different attitude.
I love seeing how everything is adapting to this. And I mean, what an age we live in that you can have a Taekwondo class over a Zoom class. I mean, my former jiu-jitsu school is doing the same thing, and I'm seeing it all over the place there as well. You know, I'm excited that, you know, to see gyms are using this time that they're empty to, you know, pull mats off the wall and do deep cleans or do repairs that they had to. But specifically the school thing, this is going to be interesting for us because I'm sure as you are with me, like this is the first time my kids are having to do like complete online based learning. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see when we're like back to normal, how much this plays into their life and their schoolwork now. Yeah.
I think it's going to be, I mean, you know, it could be a lot of different things, but we're to a point where the kids are being forced, you know, to look at school from a different capacity or look at life from a different capacity. Those of us that are parents or even people who aren't, if they are interacting with kids at all, kids are just as confused as we are at this point, you know, I mean, to be honest, you know, so it's about how we interact and how we talk to them through this process, and how we explain to them, you know, what's happening, and, you know, how we take it on is directly how they are going to end up taking it on because we're passing it through them. So
How old are they, Josh, and what are you telling them?
11, 9, and 1.
So the older kids, what are you sharing with them about the virus? Because I mean, you don't want to scare them, right? But but they've got social media, so they can see things that people are saying online.
Yeah.
You want to be realistic about the threats. So when you have a 9 and 11-year-old, what do you say to them?
I've had a pact with my kids that I tell them that I will always give them the truth. Sometimes, you know, it's a little bit less than the truth. So it's maybe not so, you know, detailed, but I mean, in the general scope of it, you know, as I give them the truth. So, you know, I've been watching the news more than I have lately. It's just been on because I've been just trying to stay involved with nationwide stuff, government-wide or governor stuff, and then city, county, and all kind of stuff. So they see me watching it, so then they watch a little bit of it, and then I try and just break it down to them and give them wave tops of it and say, you know, there's a lot of theories, there's a lot of knowns, there's a lot of unknowns, but what we can action on is what we have control over. Like, you know, it was my daughter's 11th birthday last week. She just wanted to have a party with her kids and, you know, go somewhere and then go to dinner because I always take the kids to dinner and then, you know, do cake and ice cream or something. And you just had to explain to them, you know, is that right now we cannot. So I know this sucks, you know, and it's not what we want, but as of right now, this is the things that we can control. So we are, you know, forced to kind of be at home. But there's a lot of things we can still do at home. There's still a lot of places we can go. You know, I can still go find a park to go outside and to do stuff. So I just have to get creative on giving them options, not of what we cannot do, but like, what are we still able to do? And then how do we maximize that? And, you know, do it the best we can. And then when they ask, well, when is this going to end or whatever, I tell them the truth. Like, there's projections, you know, people want a lot of stuff and they want to do stuff, but really, sometimes there's no point to listen to that because we don't know enough right now. And again, I'm not in control of that. So we're going to keep living our lives to the best that we can. We're going to keep trying to stay happy, staying outside as much as we can, doing our homework, having fun, and living our lives until other restrictions are maybe lifted. And then once they are, then we'll develop a new plan and how to figure out how to go forward, you know, after that. I mean, I speak to them like I speak to adults, not with, you know, eloquent words sometimes, but I just try and give it to them straight.
That's it.
Zach, what about you? You got a 6-year-old at home. What are you telling her?
7-year-old.
7. I'm sorry. She did have a
A lot of
birthday.
difference. A lot of difference between 6 and 7.
Same thing with Josh. Actually, now that Josh, I'm glad he went first. Now I feel a little bit better. So thanks. I mean,
I haven't told my daughter anything.
I actually got a bolt on the outside of her door, so she's been there for 3 weeks. No, same thing with Josh. I've just been pretty honest and straight up with her. She knows that there is a virus going around. She knows that there's a lot of sick people right now. But at the same time, I mean, from that standpoint, we can have the ability to choose if we want to be negative about it or be positive about it. And, you know, negative being like, this is the end of the world. We're all gonna get sick. We're all gonna die. This is how it is. Or positive, like, you know what? These are what steps we can do to make sure that we're safe, and that if we need to help somebody else out, this is what we can do to help them out. But the biggest thing that we can do is just kind of stay inside, or we do get a little stir crazy. So maybe every other day or so, or we'll go outside to like a park, like Josh said as well. We maintain the whole 6-foot distance, the social distancing, whatever you want to call it. But overall, I try to be honest with her and put it into words that she could understand. You know, there's a virus. The virus is this, and this is what we're going to do to take care of ourselves and, you know, get things done. So yeah, kind of that.
I like it.
What about you, Bryce? You got yeah.
I've actually painted all the windows in my house to reflect like just a bright and sunny day, and I tell the kids that this thing, we're just going to stay inside for a while. And they just comply. I don't know what's going on. And then I diffuse Benadryl. So everybody's actually asleep in my house. We're just going to wake up later all refreshed and kind of wondering what happened to everyone.
Yeah.
But you guys said it, like, honesty is the best thing. It's so easy to go negatively of like, oh, we can't go do this. Like, Josh, you said it right. I mean, we can be warm, and we can be fed, and we can connect over the internet, and we can use this time to work on ourselves and the things that are right at home and do projects that we should. Or like in my case, I can walk 200 meters down the street to a school that's not in use right now and walk around the track out back. Like, I have my own personal green space right here. You know, people are, like you said, Karl, you said it a couple of times, like people in New York, people in Chicago, like people are like doing this in their houses right now, you know, like getting the steps. Like, I am so thankful that like I have a detached garage that's my office that like gives me some separation from the craziness going on. And it's hard. It's hard to stay positive like that sometimes when you feel alone and when you're not with other people or you haven't made solid connections. And I think that's why I'm so thankful for us as a group, because you guys specifically handle a lot of the phone calls and connection points with Marines and people that come through the GallantFew system. And a lot of the times it's just people wanting to talk. And I think that's a very important thing that we can use this opportunity to kind of look at as in the veteran service world. Like, how many of us are just trying to listen to hear what veterans need and what people need, and starting there to just, hey man, I'm here to listen. There's no fear of me trying to offer any solution or any advice or any you should kind of things, but just an ear to open up and kind of listen. So
we should come up with a GallantFew hotline just for veterans to come and vent.
We have one. I mean, it's connected.
Well, just like connected to my mobile phone. Yeah. Zach, what was that? I was going to ask you something. What was it? Oh, what's your Toastmasters club doing through all this? Are you guys?
We are doing
any meetings or anything?
Same thing. I guess Zoom has taken the online market, I guess, because same time, not same place, obviously, but at the same time, we do our weekly meetings on Zoom. So everybody gets on as you know, if they can get on, and we still have the I guess the same agenda. We have typically 2 speakers. This week we had one. He gave a 25-minute speech because he was getting his distinguished Toastmaster. That's the highest award you can get. So he got that, and we were all listening. But we still had, you know, things like the all counter, the timer. We all had, I believe we had table topics as well, and we had an evaluation of the distinguished Toastmaster speech. So we're still up and running. And
Tell people what is Toastmasters.
Oh man. So I guess the commonality, huh?
3 minutes, go.
On the spot now.
Okay, commonality is it's not people getting together and drinking mimosas and learning how to toast. That's what I thought it was.
Eating white bread that came out of ovens.
So that's why you agreed to do it.
I thought that's what it was. I was like, hey man, Carl's gonna take me to get buzzed at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's not what it was at all. So Toastmasters is a way to come together and to have people speak about whatever topics that they are assigned, and to learn how to become a better public speaker and become a better listener. And things that we do with Toastmasters is, for example, if you're doing your first speech or what we call the icebreaker speech, you'll talk about yourself about 4 to 6 minutes, and then you'll have something called an awe counter, and the awe counter counts how many times to say so on, so forth, and but those kind of things. We have a grammarian that might be like, let's say, oh, I try to look real, instead of saying really, attractive today, and they use the wrong word, like I try to use my photosynthesis and become blah, 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 blah. The grammarian's like, okay, well, you use the word photosynthesis wrong. And what this does is we're able to help shed the fat and the incorrect English use off of a speech that will allow us to become more confident in a positive area of speaking. And also at the same time, though, just because you're speaking doesn't mean that you're not going to do a role later on, either the next meeting or even that same meeting. So you might be the listener, or you might be the grammarian, you might be the awe counter or anything like that, or an evaluator. And so it helps you become a better listener as well, and how to become more attentive to the speaker.
Better listeners. Man.
How does somebody find out about a Toastmaster club near them?
So the great thing about Toastmasters website is if you go to toastmasters.org, you can click a link in their top banner says find a club. I believe you put in your zip code or your city or something, and then it'll pop up with a bunch of clubs. And
I feel like every club should do this. I feel like this is a piece of technology that every club should do.
There's one, we have one lady, Diana, and I believe she's part of like 8 clubs in this general area. And so, yeah, she loves Toastmasters. And she says that they're all using Zoom as well. So we had somebody in our club that was a Zoom, who has a Zoom membership, and she allowed us to use her account.
Cool.
Yeah. But toastmasters.org, and then
so is Toastmasters something that you like, say you were traveling somewhere and would you find a Toastmasters event to go to and like
so
Toastmaster fix?
We're not a secret club. We don't have like a secret handshake or anything like that.
Like your bike gang does. Just kidding. Zach is not in a bike gang. He's in a bike club.
Leave meeting right now. So Toastmasters is called Toastmasters International. And so this club is just like the Rotary Club Rotary clubs throughout the world. There are Toastmasters clubs throughout the world as well. South America, Asia, especially over in the UK and Europe area. And so there are several events throughout the year, club contests, division contests. There's an international contest, and you can find all that information on the Toastmasters website.
Alrighty then.
Hey, are you guys doing Zoom motorcycle meetings now?
And brown, brown.
I guess it'd be more like. Hey, Josh, before we hang up, where do people find out about your workout program?
Either my Instagram page, which is just my name. In the bio, there's a link for all the different training programs and nutrition stuff, things like that. Right now today's the 27th. So April 1st, we're launching a new platform. So it'll be full spectrum nutrition. It'll be via an app. All the training programs will be in there. And then depending off of someone's individual needs, they can go, just for training or just for nutrition, or both of them collectively, all app-based. They can track everything, food and training, and then communication with myself and Nick. That'll be coming out April 1st.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah. And any other information on that can be found through Nick's website, nickcumulatos.com. In the gear room, I think it is, drop down in through there. So it'll all be published because we're in like a transferring stage right now on April 1st. So there's still things that are available, but like a full spectrum like changeover is happening on the 1st. So
cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, Karl, if you were talking about guys earlier who were maybe stuck at college by themselves, or single individuals who don't have a family maybe like some of us do that are at home, that like you're safer at home and you're isolated, and literally you're isolated by yourself. A lot of the things that we talked about were integration with our family and our house members. Some people don't have that, but it's not the same. But find a buddy that you used to talk to and do this same thing right here. Take up FaceTime or Zoom or whatever it may be. And I've done it before this whole thing. I've done it with guys on the East Coast that I don't get to see in person very often. Is I schedule a coffee date with them or coffee conference, and we literally just schedule a time at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and we sit with FaceTime just like this and virtually have coffee together and just bullshit. And it's not the same. You're not in person. I get it, but it allows you to have some sort of connectivity with another human being and talk some things out, do a little bit of a face-to-face, and sometimes that helps you feel like you're a little bit more connected than just being so isolated and talking to them voice or phone. So
in a few years, it's going to be that you're going to have the hologram of the person that you're talking to standing in front of you.
Yeah, it's 3D.
Go away, Bryce. What are you doing in my room?
That's it. Man.
Yeah.
Hey, on Monday, we have Boone Cutler coming on the show.
Yep, we do have Boone Cutler. We are taking a break for the weekend. Got to let the voice boxes rest. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to Boone. He's always every time I hear the guy speak, even just for a conversation, I just leave and like so motivated. Like,
well, it's going to be interesting to hear his take on this because, his military background is psychological warfare, and so he will come up with things about a world situation that I never ever even thought of. Just brilliant. The guy's brilliant.
Yeah, so I feel like we're just going to sit back and listen to him talk on Monday. So probably not one you want to miss because
Here you have your note taking gear.
Yeah,
rabbit hole with him is always fun.
That's it.
Gentlemen,
right,
thanks
guys,
for being here.
Everybody, Zach, any parting words?
If you're a veteran, if you're isolated, GallantFew.org. Or hit the Facebook.
Or somebody, a friend, anybody to reach them out and say, hey, I need to talk to you. Be upfront. Be honest about the communication that you need and that you want from people. There are tons of people out there willing to help and willing to listen. We just need to make the first steps ourselves. So thanks, Zach. Josh, any parting ones for you?
No, I don't. I mean, this has been good. I thank you guys. And if there's nothing that people have questions on that we didn't cover, fire away. If you've got questions for me, hit me up personally. It doesn't really matter. Just reach out.
Right. Yeah. If you didn't hear that Josh is an open person that likes to communicate with people, we got nothing for you. I mean, there are 4 people on this call that would love to have a conversation with you. So reach out, figure it out, how to connect with us. And thanks again, Karl. Anything
Stay
for
healthy.
you? Stay healthy. Everybody have a great weekend. If you're inside, if you're caught up, be positive as much as you possibly can. And if you have the ability to go outside, enjoy it while you can. So, all right. Good.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.
All right, guys. Thank you.